You are listening to The Art of Sales. Everyone sells every day, and this is your source for conversational, real-world sales and prospecting methods that you are comfortable using and that get results. You'll help people buy instead of pushing them into being sold. Here's your host, Art Subcheck.
One of the members in the Smart Calling community on Facebook asked about what others put in their objections answer book. And oh, by the way, I also invite you to join our free Smart Calling community. So when you're in Facebook, just do a search for Smart Calling, ask to join, and very importantly, answer the brief questions, okay? Otherwise, we don't even see the request. All right, so back to what they had written about the objection books. I'm not a fan of objection answer books or objection rebuttals, since a direct response to an objection is not really addressing the reason someone said what they did. It's replying to the symptom of the problem, and we don't know what the problem is yet. Now, as I've talked about many times, when we do get a real objection, we got to get somebody talking so we can learn the real problem and not just try to address a symptom. Okay, so the first step in that process is to soften them up a little bit, because they might be expecting you to come back and argue with them. Instead, you want to take a different approach. So we want to disarm them. Let them know that you're not there to argue. And instead, we want to get them talking. So for example, you could say, "Oh, well, let's talk about that." "Oh, that's not a problem." I've heard that before. Now, when I was initially writing the response to this in the Smart Calling group, I was thinking more about it, and then I added to it. And here's what I suggested. After softening them, then say, that's what every one of my existing clients said before they asked themselves this question: how do I know that I'm getting? And then you fill in with the value that they want in that situation. Now, there's a lot going on with this that makes it effective. Let me break this down a little bit, okay? So when you first say, that's what every one of my existing clients said, you're using the same psychology behind the old feel, felt, found technique, which I make fun of quite a bit. While the feel, felt, found technique in its purest form is pretty canned and overtaught, the reasoning behind it is pretty sound. See, what we're doing here is we're letting people know that their belief is reasonable. And everybody wants to think they're reasonable, right? But when others in that same situation got some additional information, they realized there was another way to look at it. And that's what we want them thinking. And then that continues with, before they ask themselves the question, how do I know that I'm getting? Now, this is brilliant because you are not directly asking them, how do you know that you're getting the best price? Okay. And now in our situation, of course, you'd fill in the blank with whatever the main possible value it is that you deliver. So return on investment, lowest risk, most production, and so on. Now, granted, that is a great question, and it has greater impact when it's put in the context of someone similar to them asking the question. Then it's easier for them to think about it, since you're not putting them on the spot with that objection rebuttal. So now where we have them is in this frame of mind, a frame of mind that's much more conducive to them opening up and answering our next questions, which, by the way, should be designed to get them talking about the real reason behind what they just said. Then, actually, probably the first step in the process here, think about how you could fill in the blank with something appropriate for the value that you deliver, and be prepared to use it the next time you get a common objection. So to review, soften them first. Let's talk about that. Not a problem. I've heard that before. And then that's what every single one of my existing clients, and you could say customers, patients, etc., right, said before they asked themselves the question, how do I know that I'm getting? And then you fill in the blank with your value. All right. Hey, you know what time it is.
Your attitude will be iron. Every way you'll never feel what they say. It's the art of the sales. Quote of the day.
That's right. It's time for the quote of the day. And today's quote comes from Napoleon Hill. Napoleon said, "Effort only fully releases its reward after a person refuses to quit. Wow, that's powerful. Hey, speaking of objections and the rest of the objection process, I've got so much to cover with you. I have put together a very in-depth 1-hour video webinar training program on dealing with resistance and objections and doing it painlessly and conversationally, the way normal people talk, kind of like what we just covered here, and without the cheesy objection rebuttals and goofy techniques that maybe you've heard in the past. Right now, if you're listening to this podcast within the first couple days it was released, you can attend the webinar live. Now, if you're listening later, great news, you can access the program right now and also get all of the bonuses, which includes the slides, the transcript, the MP3, so you can listen on any device. So to see complete details on this and to register, go to this URL, smartcalling.training/objections. smartcalling.training/objections. Thank you for investing your valuable sales time with me. Until next time, go out and make it your best sales day ever. I'm Art Sobczak.